Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here today. Thank you for joining us so that we can all have an update about the Leadership, Economic and Empowerment program in Ethiopia. We're now on year 2 of the expansion following the first 3-year pilot. So it's always great to have these calls and hear how the work is going and what's coming next and have the opportunity for like open dialogue and questions. I know this program is very close to all our hearts. We are in a unique position to have 14 individuals and family offices funding this work together, and that makes it so special in that it is really this collective effort to fund such incredible work. So thank you to all of you who are playing a role in making this work possible. For today, and I'm going to look down because I want to make sure I get right everybody we're going to be hearing from. We will first hear from Janine Hollas, the Deputy Country Director for Ethiopia, about the context in the country. That will be followed by Julie Perdue, who is our technical lead on the program, and she'll share about the latest results of the LEEP Academy and the plans moving forward. And additionally, we're happy to have some very special people joining us today. First, Farial Abdullah, a Save the Children supporter, waving. Hi, Farial. She's a chef on the Food Network and executive chef Havan Mar in New York City. We're also joined by Tsedenia Ayala, a member of the Save the Children UK Africa Advisory Board. So wonderful to have you. And both Farial and Tsedenia are from Ethiopia, and they were recently visiting the LEEP Academies program. So they'll have an opportunity to share their experience, their perspective on what they saw. So thank you again, everybody, for being here and for your support of the initiative. And I'm going to pass it on to Janine to get us started.
Great. Thank you so much, Luciana. And so wonderful to see all of you, and nice to reconnect with some of you. We've been on calls before. So what I'll do is just draw a very little bit of background about the country context and some of the more recent developments since we've last spoken. So obviously, you know, Ethiopia is a very large country with over 120 million in population, and over 30% of that population is actually between the ages of 15 to 29. And if you include children, that is more than 70% of the population. So a very young country at that. And we've got about 2 million people entering the labor market annually, but unemployment is at almost 30%. And women are particularly affected by that. You know, there's access barriers, but also, you know, inequality that's systemic. So it's very challenging for them to find employment, enter the labor market. But there's also a challenge of underemployment, meaning that, you know, some people are not hired at the skills level or doing the kinds of jobs they would be able to based on their skills and background. So LEEP for us remains a really important flagship program, you know, trying to sort of level the playing field, create opportunities for young women, you know, equip them with skills and knowledge that, you know, better prepares them to enter the labor market, but also to create a more conducive environment and a supportive environment in their families and communities, you know, so they could thrive as well in that labor market and also in self-employment. So for us, you know, it's been a flagship program, and it remains one. I think what somehow also happened in the country that complicates some of our work a little bit, but should not distract from the overall goal of LEEP and what we're doing with LEEP, is that the humanitarian situation has deteriorated quite a bit. You know, we're now looking at almost 20 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. That includes around 15 million targeted for food support. Just to give you some other figures, around 4 million are internally displaced, and about 8 million children are out of school. And of course, these numbers are massive, and, you know, it's really kind of a challenging operating context also, because there is not just drought and food insecurity, but also conflict in large parts of the country. But what I want to highlight today is that it is important that while a lot of humanitarian stakeholders rush to respond and support the humanitarian assistance, we need to also, you know, really keep an eye on and prioritize the longer term development gains and the support that's required to really equip the future generation. And this is where LEEP comes in and is so important. And while the news is overshadowed by all the humanitarian figures and so forth, it's important to note that there are vast parts of the country that are very stable and safe, for us to operate and implement programs like LEEP. So with those couple of thoughts, I'll hand it over to other speakers, and thanks once more for joining today.
Great, thanks, Janine, and thank you all again for joining the call. It's so great to see you all. Next slide, Mary. Oh, and next one. And these pictures from the trip were just amazing, so we'll have to maybe pause on those for a little bit. They really did a great job capturing so many of the women's businesses and all the activities that you all got to see back in March. So I know most of you are very familiar with this project, but I just wanted to give a quick reminder of the overall goal and the structure of LEAP 2. So we're really, as Janine said, trying to create the next generation of leaders and business women in Ethiopia by providing them with the training, the support, and the capital that they need, and also addressing systemic barriers, systemic gender barriers to their success. So we do this by helping them access and use financial and non-financial assets to develop and grow their businesses. We're also training them in the life skills, the entrepreneurial and business development, leadership and public speaking skills to help them with their businesses. And then helping to create healthy and supportive environments for these young women in their homes, their communities, the society, through developing those positive gender norms, increasing access to quality sexual reproductive health information and services, and really advocating for equal access to those information and services for these young women. Next slide. So we recently finished year 1 of LEAP 2, or the expansion, and I believe you all have seen the report, but I wanted to call out just some of our achievements from this first year. So we enrolled over 1,100 young women into the program who are completing, and probably by now have completed, their core training. You can see the regional split up on the screen. As expected, we saw the highest enrollment in Sidama, which is the region where we started the pilot, where we were for the last 3 years. So we were able to start up really quickly in Sidama, but we're catching up in the South region and Addis Ababa, and expect to be able to catch up certainly in year 2. All of the participants have been enrolled in the youth economic and social groups. These are the savings and lending groups. They've saved over $20,000 US so far, which might seem a little low compared to the number of young women in these groups, but since the majority of these groups were established really near the end of year 1, we think this is a great start, and they'll only continue to be able to save more and more in their groups. We already had 8 of these groups, these group businesses, accessing loans for their businesses. In LEAP 1, we didn't have any loans until year 2. So I think this is exciting to see. Access to finance is always a bit of a challenge, and has been for the many years that we've been working in youth and young women's empowerment in Ethiopia. But I think this is promising, and these are significant loans, almost $2,000 in average each. We had 58 group businesses get either workshades or workspaces from the government in Sidama and the South region. And this is really exciting because in all of LEAP 1, we were only able to get 15 workshades or workspaces for group businesses in all 3 years. And this really just goes to show the support that we have from these local and regional governments. They really want to support these young women and help them grow and expand their businesses. And really it's just so exciting to see that they're kind of walking the talk by actually supporting them with these workspaces. And as we continue the mentoring component, I'm so excited that Sam and Diana are here. So we can tell you that 35% of the mentors that we have so far enrolled and trained and who are providing mentor support are actually LEAP 1 graduates. You know, this is a vision that we had back at the beginning of the pilot, and it took us some time to get here, but you know, it's just so exciting what we heard when I was last there in May of last year. So many of the young women wanted this opportunity for other young women in their community. And it's great to see them kind of step up, be leaders, and really share their experience with other young women in their communities. And then we had, at the time of the report, 7 of the 13 YES centers, or the Youth Empowerment Service Centers, the youth centers, had been renovated to make them safe and accessible for these young women, which includes the child care corners, the reproductive health corners. By now, all of them except for one have been renovated, except for a few final fixes that the inspections have showed up. So we have just some tiny tweaks to do. The last one, as you may know, the YES centers are actually government-run facilities. The government has their own renovation plans for one of them, so we are kind of working with them to figure out how our plans fit in with theirs. But they are, at this point, almost all fully operational and functional. So those are some of our key achievements for year 1. And now I'm going to pass it over to Christine.
Great. Hi, good morning and good afternoon. I have the pleasure of having a chat with Farial and Sedenia, who participated in the recent visit last month to the LEEP program. I think it was a really special opportunity to have 2 women who are Ethiopian and supporting this type of work to go and sort of have these chats with the women, meet and see the businesses. So I'd like to start with the video Farial posted during the trip, because I think it captures sort of a special moment while she was there, and then we'll have a chat with Farial and Sedenia.
Saying it's the thing that she's most proud of is the complete shift in mindset that these women are leaving with. And she said you could not quantify that. There is no dollar value, there's no dollar amount that you can put on that, because she said, you know, these women come in essentially having no value for themselves, to by the time they leave, they have a completely different place in society. And she said they hold their head much differently by the time they're done with the LEEP program. And, you know, I think it took me maybe 20 years of living in America to unlearn the trauma of finding my voice as an Ethiopian woman, as a woman, period. So seeing the change in real time and it happening so quickly, because of the LEEP program, is just, it's just very powerful, and it's very beautiful to see in real time. So yeah, that was day 2.
Thanks for sharing, Farial. And I know she posted a couple of videos during her stay that really sound like they're just from the heart. So I just want to open it up for you, maybe to expand a little bit on your impressions from the visit.
Definitely. Thank you so much. It was definitely an emotional trip. And, you know, we have a little inside joke here. As a chef in my restaurant, you don't really, you know, it's not a very emotional environment. And my trip to Ethiopia, I think I cried so much during that trip, more than I have in my entire life. And the reason it was so heartfelt for me is because I was born and raised in Ethiopia. I left when I was 17, and I left not because I didn't love my country, but because even as somebody who grew up with so much privilege, I didn't think I could live out my big dreams. And that was because I always felt like a second-class citizen in my own country. And that was because I was a woman. And for full transparency, I didn't think we could make any changes, make any social and cultural changes in my generation, at least. But going back to visit and seeing the programs and speaking to the women in the LEEP program, that's the first time I ever felt hope for women in Ethiopia. It's the first time. I'm 37 years old, and it's the first time I ever felt hope for women in Ethiopia, speaking and engaging with the women in the LEEP program. So that's why it was very emotional for me. And I'm sure Sedenia could, you know, expand, and I'm sure you felt the same way. It was a very emotional trip for both of us.
Yeah, thank you, Ariel. And I'd love to hand it over to Sedenia, who, you know, is a successful business woman in Ethiopia for your thoughts on the visit.
Yeah, I agree with Farial. I think it was there were two parts of the trip, right? The first one was the LEEP program that we saw in Awasa, and the second one was the one we went to the northern region. To be honest, it was LEEP was a program like no other, right? I did not know such program existed even in different parts of Addis Ababa or in different parts of Ethiopia. Seeing those women getting equipped with the tools that they need to change the lives that they have, their children's life, theirs, seeing them change their brothers or the way their husbands interact with them, how they can help them, you know, become a supporter in the household, or even to have a partner that is there to make you feel like you are doing something. So seeing the husband's class, seeing the husbands, you know, change the way they view. One of the guy told us, like, I didn't know, you know, she was going through all of this. So having somebody talk to him and explain and making him see the different parts of motherhood or womanhood was something that I was very impressed with. Another thing is there was this lady, her name was Asrat, I think. I met her in Awasa in my trip, and she started her business with 3,000 birr, and she opened this like men's clothing store where she brings you know, her clothes is mostly she sells jeans, t-shirt, and men's shirt from Addis Ababa, a place called Mercato, and then she travels probably with you know trucks to Awasa, and then she sells it there. Now, this lady, before she joined the LEEP program, she was staying at home, not doing anything the whole day, not having any career. She joined the LEEP program, learned about how she can start a business, and you know, she learned the tools of the saving, how to create you know, balance sheet, or to see her profit, not so a balance sheet, but like to see what her profit will be, and to create a more successful business for herself. Right now, her capital is 300,000. This young lady bought her mom a house. She built her mom a house. Imagine. So you know, there is a saying where you can give a man a fish and he can eat for a day, but you can teach him how to fish and he will eat for the rest of his life. So basically, this is what I thought about LEEP. It changes generational women. It changes, for example, this lady, of course, she doesn't have kids at the moment, but I can just imagine her kids are better off, her family is better off because of one individual, and what she was able to learn from the program. Yeah, so I was really impressed by everything, and yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sedenia. And Sedenia had shared that this was the business that stood out. So we were able to find a photo so you could see Azrat there in her store. Very impressive journey. And then Faryal, I know there was also a business that stood out for you. We could take a look at that picture too. You could tell us a little bit about this business.
Yeah, so we met this young lady called Almaz. So these ladies have a dairy business. And what really impressed me about them is that, you know, so for most of these businesses, as you guys mentioned in the beginning, there's a lot of government subsidy that goes on. So the women have to present their business plan and get a loan from the government. And when these group of women presented their idea of starting a dairy farm, they were initially turned down by the government, who told them, you know, this is not necessarily suitable for women. This is a male-dominated industry. You should probably start a business within the restaurant industry, something related to cooking or something more suitable for women. This is what they were told by the government. And they were not deterred by this. They said, no, you guys should actually be supporting exactly what we want to do, and there's no such thing as, you know, this job is more suitable for men versus women. This is what we want to do. We're physically capable, we're mentally capable, we're intellectually capable, so give us the money for this specific business. They did not back down, and they finally got the loan, and they started off with 2 cows, and they have since expanded, and you guys can correct me, I think it's only been a year or 2 at the most, but they've gone from 2 cows to now 4 cows and 4 calves, so they have 8 total. um so what they do is they produce milk and sell it to local customers, and they get about 4,000 birr a day. And it was just such a beautiful story of strength and resilience and not giving up, even when not only people are around you trying to put you in your place, but government officials telling you where your place is in society. And they were just, and look at the joy in their faces. They're so happy. Like, and you know how LEEP has injected, um, basically they taught them how to, you know, put a business plan together, and also once they started their business, essentially how to, you know, manage their money. So I was just so impressed by them.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that. And you did mention briefly, Sedenia, the husband school. So we have a photo of one of the young men who participated, and a quote. Mary, I don't know if you can put that one up. So this is Ababa. He said because of his sister's involvement, he was enrolled. So it's not just husbands, it can be brothers or fathers for single participants. And he just shared that there were a number of insights. One of them, he said, here is his quote: "I realized the difficulties women endure at home and the need for our assistance, even something like making coffee." And Ethiopian coffee ceremony is a little bit more than the way we do it here. So but in any case, he said, you know, I always considered that to be simple, and I realized it's very difficult. So now he's committed to helping his sister moving forward. So I know, Sedenia, you already mentioned seeing this part of the program. Farial, what did you think about this component? Because I know you spent some time with the men while they were in the training, while you were there.
It was so impressive to me. So when we first got the itinerary for our, you know, trip to visit the LEEP program, this is before any background information. When I saw the itinerary, I saw that we were visiting husband schools, and I had no idea what that meant. I thought it was like a term, like, oh, like a sister school, like kind of like an adjoining program. I didn't know it literally meant a husband school. And I was incredulous when I got there because, you know, I thought it was like how much participation is actually going on. And we visited husband schools both in Awasa and Addis Ababa. And it blew my mind because they were so empathetic. And that was one of the most impressive things about the LEEP program to me, because of how comprehensive it is, because it's not just about teaching the women, it's also making sure that they're getting support from everybody around them. And that includes really the most important men. So their husbands, their brothers, their fathers, and everyone, like all the men that we talked to in the programs, they were truly engaged. It wasn't something, it didn't feel like they were putting on a show, or like it wasn't theatrical because we were there to visit. They were truly engaged, and they had, you know, built a camaraderie amongst each other, because, you know, society can be like, hey, you're the man of the house, why are you changing diapers? And they found support within each other, and saying, hey, you know, like our wives, our sisters, our daughters, they actually have a huge task, you know, like we're tasked to bring in money, but them taking care of the house is actually a huge task. And putting themselves in the shoes and actually learning how to cook, or, you know, brewing coffee, like you said, it's such a huge task in Ethiopia. Bathing, learning how to bathe children. You know, one of the men said he'd never even changed a diaper in his life, and now, you know, through the LEEP program, anytime, you know, when his children are crying, he's like, don't worry, sweetheart, I got it. So he goes to change diapers. And I was so impressed, because that's how you can really make a difference. It's not just by focusing on the women, it's also getting buy-in from everybody that's involved with these women. So I was so surprised by how engaged the men truly were.
Thanks for that, Varial. Sedenia, did you want to add anything to your impressions of the husband school?
Yeah, there was this guy that we talked. There were two guys that we talked at the end of, they made a churro, coffee, and everything. We saw them trying to change diapers, and the two men that were telling us this story was, by his wife she was in the LEEP program, and she's working. She has a hair salon for men, and now she can stay late and she'll be working until probably 8 or 9 o'clock, and she doesn't have to come home and then bear the responsibilities of making dinner or making sure the kids are sleep. So now having that partnership, I'm sure it makes her more profitable. It makes her do her job in a better way. She can treat her customers. She doesn't have to turn anybody away. So it makes their life better off. It serves the purpose for both man and woman. So that's what he actually learned. By becoming a partner, it makes their livelihood much better. So which was very impressive for me, is changing the mindset. That's what matters, right? They can pretend, you can tell them, this is how it should be, blah blah blah. But then again, if somebody really understands and they become partners, everybody's life is better off. The kids, everybody. So for me, I was really impressed at the men and how their mindset changed and how they understood that women actually have a lot of responsibilities as a mom, as a wife, as an employee, and so on. So it was really impressive.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, these women, it's not a vacuum, right, that they live in when they're launching these businesses and having the success. If they don't have that support, it's very hard to be sustainable. So before we move on to the next section, I just wanted to ask, Farial, did you have any other message or anything else you wanted to share about the impact of the program, or for those on the call who haven't yet been able to visit?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a, I said that it was a comprehensive program, but it's also it's addressing the issues that are deeply rooted. We talked about the husband schools, but also when we were in Hawassa, we had a chance, Adina and I had a chance to meet with the elderly. And as you know, in most of these rural parts of Ethiopia, the word of the elderly is law, and I was so impressed that LEEP even included the buy-in of the elderly as well. It's just addressing things that are so deeply rooted, and like I said, it's not a small thing for someone like me to feel hope in my country for the first time in 37 years. So I truly believe in this program, and I just left very grateful and thankful that we have donors that make this possible. And I truly think that Ethiopia can be in a much better place with programs like LEAP.
Thank you. We're very
We're very
grateful
grateful
for you, Farial. And Sedenia. Sedenia, did you have any final reflection or thought to share?
Yeah, I agree with Varial. She said most of the things I was thinking. Having programs like LEAP, Janine has said almost 70% of the population is young youth population. So changing their life, teaching them the skills that they need, the tools to lead a successful life, is something that will change generations. So we are grateful for the funders that have provided the funds so far, but also there are things that also require to move forward and to create more programs so we can allow more women and men to be participants, and to create a more skilled and educational generations. Some of the LEAP in Addis Ababa that I saw, it needs of course we were so grateful to see that there was a bathroom that was done. People can take a shower there. They can change their clothes. They can use really clean restrooms. But then we also need daycares for women. The classes, the participants, they were in this classroom holding their babies. And I'm sure, their attention, 30%, 40% attention is only in the class because the baby is crying. And so if we can have, there's just one thing that I'm thinking, a daycare, a room, and they couldn't let them have it in the same building. So it needs to be built outside on the compound. Those are some of the things that I saw would be, other than increasing the number of programs that we have. But this is my country. These are my people. So I'm very grateful for everybody. That is for every one of you that work in this program, and for the donors as well. And I hope that they will continue to support us.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, and childcare is a key component of LEAP, and I think in that one center, it's just been a challenge to set it up. But thanks to both of you for your reflections and for visiting, taking that time, and then to come back and share it. Really, we appreciate it so much, and for your ongoing role with Save the Children. Great. I'm going to hand it to Julie to talk a little bit about the vision for LEAP in the coming year.
Yes, thank you. And thank you again to Farial and to Denia for sharing your reflections. I love what you both kind of pulled out of the trip about how comprehensive it is and holistic, and how we can't just train these women because, right, they live in a society that has these gender norms. And so Denia, what you said about making change for generations, right? All these women who have husbands in husband schools, or even the brothers, when they have kids, these children are going to grow up in a household where their parents are partners, right? Where they're sharing the household work. And I think, that's so important for them to see, because then they are going to grow up having that same expectation that women and men should both be doing household chores, that they can both earn money. And I just, it's so exciting to see the change so quickly happening for these women and their businesses, but it'll also be, it's also really exciting to think about that generational change that we'll be seeing through this program. So thank you for those reflections. So we have ambitious plans for year 2. We, really hope that through this program, we can enroll more than 3,500 young women into the program in year 2 in the 3 regions. We, especially in Addis, as you saw earlier, we were a little slower starting up there, but we'll be picking up very soon. One of the setbacks that we experienced in the first year, and that was in the report that many of you saw, is that the government mandated that microfinance institutions be transformed into private banks. So there was a lot of turnover at these MFIs or banks, and that really delayed our negotiations on the guarantee fund, right? So we are, in all 3 regions, we're negotiating to provide a loan guarantee fund to eliminate the collateral requirement for loans for these young women, as we know that is one of the biggest barriers to them getting loans. So we were delayed in that, but this might actually be a good thing. Private banks have more flexibility in the terms that they can offer for loans compared to government-run MFIs. So we actually relaunched our bid process with many more banks than originally planned. And we're really hoping to get better terms, really the best loan terms for these young women for this loan guarantee fund that we can. So moving forward with that, I hope to have a better update for you all in the next report. And then I think you all know it's something we've talked about probably on every call and every report, just the access to finance. It's such a challenge. It's been a challenge on the predecessor programs to LEAP, the LEAP pilot. So we are, in addition to pursuing the guarantee funds, we are also exploring additional options. So we are talking with a telecommunications company that has digital financial products and services. And we're exploring whether or not we can use some of those products and services for our young women. So these might be things like microcredit. So as I mentioned earlier, the loans that the 8 groups got were about $2,000 US each. So these would be much smaller, but we know not every business is going to be able to get a loan in $2,000 or more. So we're just hoping that we might be able to offer additional options, maybe smaller options for more individual businesses or smaller group businesses that aren't quite at the level to access larger loans yet. So hopefully more to come on that in coming reports, but something exciting for us to think about. We are planning to train more mentors this year, over 200 of them. And really, again, we want to increase the number of LEAP 1 participants. I think this is so important and so exciting that these young women really want to help each other and support each other and share their experience. So we'll continue to do that. And then we really just want to continue to strengthen our public and private partnerships to help link these young women with services, with things like maybe technical skills, financial services, more work shades and workspaces. We've already seen the really how much these relationships can help the young women, with the local and regional governments really supporting the young women and their businesses. We just want to be able to do more of that and really help them access what is already existing in the country. And then I will pass it over to Christine to talk more about private partnerships within the U.S.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. You can pull down the PowerPoint for a minute. Thanks a lot. So in terms of private partnerships, it's been really amazing from the pilot phase to phase 2. In the pilot phase, we had 7 supporters, and we've doubled that to 14. So, it's just been great to see how many different individuals and family foundations continued into phase 2. And we've brought on board more very recently, securing a really great commitment. So if for LEAP 2, we've raised 50% more funding, which is also really impressive. Just a great support. Thank you to everyone on the call that's made that possible in so many ways. The reality is that we were very ambitious with Scale Up with a $5 million budget. We're at like 3.1 right now. So again, it is 50% more than the pilot phase, but we still have a bit of ways to go. So we are making sort of like a final push, outreach, engaging anyone who's currently committed, if they're interested in deepening that commitment, or if you know anyone who might want to get involved. We will have to sort of by around mid-year kind of make the call on the final budget for this phase. So we'll be doing that. And just want to say thank you so much for bringing us where we are. And wherever we end up, we are helping thousands of more, like LEAP 1 was 711 women. We already enrolled 1,100, we're going to enroll more. We're going to impact because we did reduce the cost significantly, looking at all the ways we could scale at a lower price. So it's a great program, so much impact. And so just want to say thanks for that. And I'll toss over to Luciana for discussion, additional questions.
Great. Thank you, everybody. This time is really to open it up, so there are questions, reflections, anything any of you want to bring up. So, Sam, let's go to you.
Did I unmute? Yeah, I did. Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, Christine. Farial, that was very inspiring, and Tzedenia. I hope I didn't mess up your name, but it was really inspiring listening to you guys. Really inspiring. So, couple questions. One, I'm looking at the pyramid chart that you guys put up, and the first item on there, Julie, was enrolling 3,500 additional people. So I'm trying to figure out sort of the best sequence for achieving these milestones. Do we have to enroll people first? Do we need money to enroll the people first? Do we need to get them the microfinancing first? What is it that we need to do first to move towards even a more modest goal? And having been involved in LEAP 1, I know that this is a huge leap forward. I mean, it's, pardon the pun, but it's fantastic that we're 50% ahead of where we were in the original pilot, but we're far away from the ambitious goals that we had set out. So what is it that we need to do first to get more people enrolled? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, so like Christine mentioned, we have over 3 million out of the 5 million that we wanted for this program. So we are good on operating funds for a little bit of time, and we can certainly enroll more women as we're still moving forward. I think, like Christine said, later this year, we will make a final decision. I think that number will be able to reach at least that many. If not, if we have to slow down a bit, it might be maybe a little bit moved into next year as well. And then we would focus probably more on the partnerships and the sustainability, working with local governments. We want to set up young women's associations of the graduates of the program that can really kind of help advance this work moving forward. But yeah, we're continuing to enroll. We're continuing to provide all the training and all the components of the program. If we have to make tough decisions, we have decided that we don't want to eliminate any aspects of the program because it is so holistic and comprehensive. And we know that, after the research we did in year one, we're doing more research, or after the research in LEEP 1, after the research we plan to do in LEEP 2, we really believe in this model, this comprehensive model. Yeah, we're continuing to enroll. We'll also continue to fundraise and hope for more contributions. Christine.
Just to add on that, we've been very close with the country office, with Janine and the team, with exactly where we're at with spending. Every time a new donor comes on board, they've already started figuring out, because we want to do the program with fidelity. We want to make it meaningful and impactful, and it will be. Because of all the different aspects in place, it might just not be, instead of 8,900 women, it may be 6,000. I mean, it's still significant. It's still significantly more than phase one. We didn't want to put a specific number out right now because we were hoping to just continue fundraising until about June, and then they're going to really look at the plan and finalize the plan for the end of this year and the coming year. So yeah, we're definitely continuing to enroll and moving forward, with the work in the meantime.
Great. I'm looking around to see any hands come up or anybody who wants to unmute and come on with questions. I mean, Elsa, you've been very engaged from the very beginning. You've traveled multiple times. You've seen the work. Any reflections on your side as you hear, the latest?
Yeah, I would say no questions, but I do have a reflection. So, Jessica and I were not able to make the visit in March. We were just in Ethiopia last week and had the opportunity to sit down with the country team and have dinner and just have a casual conversation about the program. And I would say, I think the microfinance piece has been something that's been very difficult from the beginning. And what we heard from our other partners during our trip in Ethiopia really reaffirmed the difficulty and the intricacies of bringing financial capital and increasing access for women in the LEEP program. So I really do applaud all the work that the team has done to date. It's not an easy context to operate in. And I would say I'm very excited about this digital finance product and the work going on with Safaricom. So I really am excited and very proud of where this has gone and how far we've come since 2019. So I would just give you all a pat on the back and really appreciate that it's difficult. And while sitting here, it's easy for us to talk about XYZ solution, but really you've done the hard work of, bringing more financial access to these women. So just thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. That's great to hear, and so great that you had the opportunity to be with the team in country and talk some of this through. Really appreciate how close to the program and all the discussions you are. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other thoughts, questions, reactions? I mean, I know all of you on the line are familiar with the work. So
Can I talk?
Yeah, Dr. Diana.
Yes, this is very, very exciting. Really, really, really amazing as it goes forward. And I just was thinking, and this is so weird and out of the box, but I was just thinking about having very brief, short videos that someone could take of these women, you know, talking about how they've changed and what their life is like. And just posting that somewhere where people could see it to have more understanding. In other words, it just would be a marketing type thing. But, you know, these days, that kind of thing is very powerful, and just having it kind of floating around. I mean, I don't know about I mean, I don't know if that would put anyone at risk in terms of, you know, whatever, attracting other attention. But it just occurred to me that like, I would just like to have all the people of Ethiopia see what could be happening. You see what I'm saying? I don't quite know how that would be done, but anyway, it just would change the background or the whole situation, right? Because everyone's like, oh, that LEEP, oh, the LEEP, oh, yeah, I want to get in the LEEP. Oh, I want to get in the LEEP. Oh, I saw that beautiful Faria talking. I want to be like her. Oh my goodness gracious, you know.
Yeah, I think we have incredible stories here, and there's a lot of opportunity to elevate this. How exactly, I think we need to think about that, but it feels like there's a lot here that's definitely brilliant and so tangible in the change that I love it.
Compelling. It's very powerful, you know. It's just like, yes, that's it.
Yeah,
that's what's possible.
I actually had a question myself, Julie, and this may be me having missed something earlier on. So I know when you were highlighting some of the results of the previous part of the program, well, year one, you mentioned how the spaces that were provided by the government for businesses. So I know the government needs to be involved in many stages of you know, business development and the work we're doing. Is it a requirement that the government needs to give them the space, or is that something that happens often? Or maybe you can flesh that out a bit for us.
Yeah, so it's there are some government entities, local entities that have workshades and workspaces that they can give to youth businesses, women's businesses that they like really have to hand out, and it's you know, I think it's really tough for businesses to get those spaces. So kind of by connecting these businesses with those government entities, we're able to kind of make that match and connection, and they are able to provide that support. So it's not something that everybody gets. I'm actually not sure. Maybe I should check with the team on this. What are the requirements for that? I'm sure there's, you know, a business plan and different things, but yeah, I think there are these existing services that the government is supposed to provide for Ethiopians, for their businesses, and I think it is up to us to kind of make those connections and help these young women access those services. And yeah.
That's great, thank you. So we shouldn't minimize that then, right? Like it's another way that we're helping to make the connections. So that's great. Jim, did I see you unmute for like a moment and then maybe I cut you off, and if so, I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. I was just going to say that Diana's point is very well taken, that from here, we're seeing things observationally, and even for people who have made the trip, we're seeing through their eyes observationally, but the real power is the experiential. The real power is from the people whose lives this is changing. And it's night and day difference. And so I really think Diana had a super valid point there, and something to even the slide with the husband was very powerful, or the brother, excuse me, was very powerful. And those kind of stories, the experiential as opposed to the observational, I think will make a lot of difference with people.
Yeah, definitely. It's a point well taken. And yeah, there is so much there. In previous calls, we did have a couple of the women participants on the calls. We try to, switch it up a little bit, but definitely we can do more in terms of capturing those quotes and video also of these women with their businesses. It is really powerful. Agree.
Ariel?
I was gonna say, I know we did get some interviews of some of the women while we were there. I'm sure you guys can pull that up at some point.
Great. Any other thoughts, questions, reflections? Okay. If not, I want to thank everybody again. All of you are committed to a program that is having massive impact in the lives of women. And Farial, as you said, it's a generational thing, right? So we're changing a woman's life, but it's also her family, and it's also how this will impact future generations. So we cannot underestimate that. So thank you all so much. As Christine mentioned, we've done really well with fundraising. We're still trying to close the gap so we can go for the full ambition of what we want to see during LEAP 2. So if any of you know of others that you think would be interested in this program, or I know we're going to be sharing some of this perhaps with other people. So if anybody else is watching this video later on and you know of somebody that you think might be interested, we'd love to talk to you and figure out how do we keep bringing others along to support this work. Of course, if any of you want to go deeper in your commitment, by all means, we'd love to talk to you about that. But with that, thank you, and we appreciate your partnership enormously, and would love to figure out ways to get to the full ambition that we have for this work. So with that, I think I'm gonna bring it to a close for today. Thank you, and we look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Great work.
Yeah,
Really great work.
yeah.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Farial Sedenia.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Tam.
Bye.
Bye.